Talking defensive line for the NFL draft here at Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. We got Rick Saratella on the line from NFL Draft Bible. The draft, of course, April 23rd through the 25th, and going to be provided remotely as much as possible, as you can imagine. This is going to be an interesting thing as a TV show, as it's become a enormous event in places like supposed to be Vegas this year, Nashville, but going to be shut down in closed quarters, of course. But the picks are coming off the board to fill up NFL rosters, and that's what it really comes down to. Defensive line, Derek Brown. In watching this kid play at Auburn, Rick, I could never understand why I didn't look at the stat sheet and see like 18 sacks and 23 tackles for loss, because it just he looks the part, but obviously the talent's there, and he's going to be a high draft pick, very high draft pick. But he was a big player in college, but not necessarily at the level that I would have expected.
Yeah, I think that he's probably not on the caliber of an Ndamukong Suh. And that draft class with McCoy and those defensive tackles, I think this is probably the best draft class for defensive tackles since that class. And he might not be even as good as Ed Oliver. But I think that the things that he has done and the plays that he has made, and he's made some really impactful plays and key moments. And I think, him taking on 2-3 bodies every snap might be a reason for the lack of production. But I think this is a really blue chip type of talent. In fact, I think, if he came out last year, I thought he would have been a top 10 pick. And I was surprised that he came back, because he really didn't have a lot of room for improvement. But I think, you match up the size, the quickness off the snap, the athleticism, and what he's able to do. And then, he can stop the run, but he can also bring some interior pass rush. And anytime you can bring that capability, there's going to be a value for that at the next level. So I think he's going to be inside that top 10, maybe even the top 5. But Javon Kinlaw has a lot of fans too. And I saw Kinlaw in week 1, and I was like, wow, who is this guy? And he wasn't really considered a first-round guy yet. So I didn't know I was looking at a top talent. But I mean, I made a mental note, and as the season wore on, the scouts are saying, man, Kinlaw. Then you talk about a guy winning the weigh-in. Javon Kinlaw won the weigh-in at the Senior Bowl when he walked down the aisle, rocked up 300-plus pounds, and just not an ounce of fat on this guy. He said, golly, he's a winner. And I think, he dominated the first 2 days in Mobile. I think the agent got on the phone and said, hey, your work is done here. You can shut it down. He didn't finish out the rest of the week. But I think there is a contingency in the NFL that does value Kinlaw over Brown. Now, I heard there was a little bit of a knee issue. Don't know what the medical report said there in Combine and Indianapolis. Not even sure that they had the medical recheck this year because of the whole pandemic. So that is the one X factor when you're comparing Brown versus Kinlaw. Maybe teams will be more conservative and value Brown over Kinlaw because of the knee, but we don't have that information, so we just don't know.
We think speed when we think SEC, but at the same time, the defensive line position, and talking about the down linemen, the guys with their hands in the dirt, has also differentiated this league versus their competition. The top 3 on the board for you coming from the SEC, 7 of the top 11 from the SEC. So where's another name that jumps out at you that you'd really like to highlight for us?
I got a guy I'm curious to get your take on him, because, I didn't know too much about him going into Mobile down at the Senior Bowl, but this guy, Davon Hamilton from Ohio State, who, quite honestly, I don't think he even started there. They're just so talented, so deep. As you know, Ohio State likes to use that defensive line rotation, and Hamilton's a guy that was really not a featured part of that defense, but man, he was just winning one-on-one battles. He was quick. He was strong. I liked what I saw from Davon Hamilton. I would borderline be open to taking him in the first round personally, just because I think he's such a unique talent. But then you have to say, hey, well, why didn't he start? Was he just not good enough? And, you got to go back and do your homework on that. But in terms of putting him up against the top talent, I mean, nobody could block this guy. So I'm a big Davon Hamilton fan. I don't know if you had a chance to see him too much, but I mean, the Buckeyes, it seems like they've got depth for days on that defensive line, and this is a guy that was just lost in the mix. But I think he's a top 50 pick.
Yeah, Ohio State was definitely one of the schools that went with the approach that we need 7, 8, 9 guys to rotate, keep them fresh, and keep after the quarterback. And then obviously everybody's followed suit that's able to recruit at that level, and that's only a handful. But Robert Landers was actually the guy at Ohio State that jumped out as a guy that was making plays early in his career. That Davon Hamilton has been more of a late bloomer for the Buckeyes in regards to catching people's eyes both at the collegiate level and now with the NFL draft. Rick, we appreciate you stopping by, man. It's always just a fun time hearing the breakdown of all these players. Hope to have you back soon.
Yeah, always a blast, always fun. We'll continue to crank through these positional previews, and make sure you subscribe to Mark Rogers TV.